Thank you, Sophie. Yes, thank you very much, Gabi, for these kind words. And thank you, Ars. He left already, right? Anyhow, it was very, very kind of you to welcome here, and I really appreciate it. So also, of course, on behalf of the Loeb Center, I would like to welcome you here at our workshop. And I want to say that we started to organize it 2 years ago, in the middle of, or at the beginning of the COVID nightmare. And we hoped that by then, namely now, this nightmare is over. But as we could see last night or the day before, it is not. I mean, with all the testing and test results not arriving, and some people, 2 people not coming because of that. But I'm so happy that everybody else came, so that we can have the conference as planned. I think I don't take for granted. I'm glad to meet again colleagues and friends whom I've known for many years. For example, Ellen Rosenberg, who has accompanied these conferences for I don't know how many years, I wish she could say that herself. And I'm also happy to, so that means the continuity in Constancy of things. But I'm also happy to welcome people who have never been here and perhaps never been to Israel. And so we have also some super plasticity. And this workshop is dedicated to the memory of Eric Davidson, who has influenced many of us in very different ways, and who will be commemorated afterwards by Alan, his long-standing colleague and partner. Of the 2 poles, Constancy and plasticity is clearly more popular today. While there are countless theories of evolution, there is hardly anything related to the phenotypic stability of animal body plans that has persisted, as Doug Irwin, who is somewhere around, emphasized, for at least 520 million years, since 520 million years. And in contrast, phenotypic plasticity is widely discussed and researched, often based on fashionable interpretations of epigenetics. And I would like here to cite Adrian Burns. Adrian is sitting here, comments on the alleged power of single methyl groups to bring about switches in development. That is also, and a comment that is also related to stability. Adrian holds, please, I hope you are not angry that I quote this, holds that switches in a liquid state, like the cell, are not easily brought about and often require many factors, and therefore organisms should be compared with cumbersome human bureaucracies. He said, I quote, "Bureaucracies have a bad reputation, but actually they are jolly stable. Bureaucracies can be inefficient for ages and still continue, so biologically that's a good property." So our workshop addresses the problem of constancy and plasticity from the perspectives of molecular biology, embryology, immunology, mathematics, physical chemistry, history and philosophy of science, and ancient Greek philosophy. A word about the latter. Modern-day science, its reasoning methods and many of its concepts are, as we all know, the result of a long process that was built over several centuries. And one chapter in this development is ancient Greek science or ancient Greek philosophy. Michel Morange, a dear colleague, philosopher of biology, who unfortunately cannot come here because of health reasons, but he has organized many conferences together with me. He has warned us in his recent book that the search for pioneers in the past is mostly futile because the modern concepts and debates are not a revival of earlier debates, but usually resulted from new observations. An example for such a misguided and unfounded interpretation of the past is the headline of an internet entry in the History of Medicine, which says Galen, or Galenus, an ancient Roman forefather of modern psychology. Of course, that's nonsense. On the other hand, Erwin Schrödinger, one of the founders of quantum mechanics, in his book on Nature and the Greeks, made it clear that ancient atomism bears some striking similarities to modern atomism, and that the scientists who introduced it into modern science Gassendi and Descartes were fully aware of taking up the theory of the ancient philosophers whose scripts they had diligently studied. He deliberates whether perhaps the thought pattern in question is not exclusively based on recent evidence, but on the co-production of much simpler facts and on the a priori structure of the human intellect. When we ask, no, I cannot answer that here, but when we ask whether there are perhaps simple facts concerning constancy in nature, we cannot but remember, I mean many of us cannot but remember Eric Davidson, who never tired of reminding us that a dog begets a dog and a human being a human being, facts that were known also 2,500 years ago, and I know from many that they also guided Aristotle. Eric also was the first, or one of the first, to propose an explanation of the long-standing constancy of animals' body plans in the history of life. And this explanation consists of developmental constancy, and he explained both of them in a mechanistic way, namely by causal and hierarchical gene regulatory networks, about which we will hear in the course of the conference several times. Mechanistic does not mean atomistic. Eric was critical of his fellow molecular biologists who did not realize the limitations of individual gene studies in regards to an explanation of complex phenomena such as development, important as they of course are in other respects. Although I think that the differences between Eric and Aristotle far outweigh the similarities, I see a parallel between Eric's mechanistic holism based on the hierarchical structure of the genome and Aristotle's criticism of Hippocrates' theory of pangenesis, that is, the attempt to explain heredity by single entities without considering their organization. As is the case in all of science, Eric's model of developmental gene regulatory networks and its application to evolution have been challenged and amended in recent years. And I'm pleased that key contributors to the new developments are here to share with us their insights and challenges they present, like Dr. and Alan Stas mentions, and anyhow, I'm very, very glad. And I'm very happy that Ed Halper, Philippa Lang, and Andy Garman, with their contributions on ancient Greek philosophy, will enable us to gain, to cite again Schrödinger, deeper insight into the origin and nature of our thought fiction. So finally, I want to thank all of you for coming here, despite the risk it posed concerning COVID tests becoming positive and being in quarantine instead of being here at the conference. And I really appreciate that you took that risk. And I would like to thank the members of the Jacques Loeb Center for their great help in bringing about this workshop. You were really a great team. Sophie Kohler, Dr. Sophie Kohler, research fellow and administrator of the center, she was instrumental in the overall organization. Our research assistant, Michael Schaffermann, assisted in many ways and took care of all the technical requirements. He's taking care, yeah, he's sitting there. He's almost PhD. Mari Eichler, who arranged, as you all know, the flights, COVID tests and accommodation, and also took care of coffee and meals. And I would like to mention the help of Philip Stamenkovitz in many ways, who is a new postdoc at the center. And I thank Daniel Lachish for video recording the workshop and organizing the music event. He's sitting over there. So I thank all of you for your great efforts to finally realize this workshop. Thank you.